the speaker for this morning, Dr. Maryna Kolochavina. And Maryna and I met serendipitously through Global Genes, and this was back in 2021, towards the end of 2021. And she approached me to discuss this novel framework for rare and orphan assets. So I thought, this is interesting. I've heard this one before. So tell me a little more. What I realized is that Maryna has years, nearly 20 years of experience in this space, has worked on program management and improving the care for patients through understanding that entire journey and experience in lifecycle medical product management for over 240 assets and over 440 orphan drug designations. So I had to look at that because those numbers are just mind-boggling to me. And I thought this is intriguing, and we are very excited for her to share this framework and to discuss how she's going to advance the path to therapy. Maryna, please.
Thank you so much. As Rodney mentioned, I'm working in rare and orphan space, not 20, but 17 years. And I touched 220 rare and orphan drugs in different stages of their life cycle, from approval, commercialization, patient access and use. And my last 5 years, I spent as a crisis manager when I understood that the company changed, disease change, drug change, but I'm solving the same problems. So what can we do better? And then I started to think about this project. Initially, it was a very small project idea, just for publication, to share insights for 17 years and to help people, potentially give them sort of guidance and potentially help them to solve their questions that they will definitely face. They will definitely face. So I will not read the slides, but we all understand that rare and orphan is complex, right? So we're working in the space. We understand that some designs are unethical and non-feasible. Some demands to the evidence are not reachable in the small population. It's very difficult to be there at the demand, right? And what we need, last at least 15 years, I'm in every conference hearing that we need to be patient-centric. But what does it mean, patient-centric? Is it enough to call a patient? Is it enough to have patient in steering committee? Is it enough to have patient as a medical advisor? What? What is enough? And then I started to understand why multiple approaches to bring patient in the center fail, or as we discussed yesterday, we shouldn't say this word, there are a lot of lessons learned. So I tried to learn too. What I did, that was my starting point. That was the beginning of the project, the idea. What I did, I took the stakeholders' maps, right? So every company has a stakeholder map. We heard yesterday during the working groups that there is a stakeholder list. So stakeholder map gives you an opportunity to see when and how to approach every stakeholder during your progress with medical product. So I took 220 stakeholder maps, and I understood that the patient is not in the center. So from who are making decisions and who are benefiting from these decisions, the patient is not in the center. In the current framework, the way rare and orphan drugs are developed, commercialized, and approved in current market, in current community. So the patient is much more closer to patient organizations. Through patient organization, patient is involved with so-called medical product team, so the team in pharmaceutical company who is developing the drug. But the patient is far from upper management unless there were three cases in my practice in 17 years when the patient or a parent of the patient was upper management. So any our attempt to bring patient at the center will fail because current framework doesn't allow it. Then I started to think how to change it. And I did a small survey within my network. I've selected 100 people from regulatory, medical community, small and medium biotechs, industry, upper management, funders, payers, regulations, and I served them, right? So I did a small survey for them. And I've asked them 2 questions. What is your end goal in rare and orphan? And how do you achieve it? And so everyone ticked the box that they want patient on treatment. Remember, we discussed yesterday during the working groups, what is the common agenda? What is the end goal? From multiple stakeholders, everyone answered, we want patient on treatment. Regulators want, payers want, medical community wants, patient organization wants, patient wants. What was surprisingly and shocking for me and eye-opening was how. So people answered differently on how they want to bring patient on treatment. And sometimes it was different between regulators and payers, between upper management and patient community, between investors and patients, between senior management and regulators. It was how. And how is the process? So what I understood is that if I will find a way to harmonize this process between stakeholders, to make this process more predictable, or even to inform the process that we all know what is the process for regulators, what is the process for payers, how do they work, how do they use, for example, patient voice in their decision-making. If I will find this way, by default, I'm putting patient on treatment in the center. So that was my first step. I need to change the process. And I questioned myself, what is the best way to change the process? And then I did, like as Rodney didn't present that I'm from scientific family. So my 2 parents are professors. One in gene therapy, another one is clinical pharmacology. So my path was quite predefined. I started as academic too. So I do not do anything without research. So I did a small research too. I took 101 rare and orphan drug approved before 2007 and after. Before 2007, you see that clinical development, real-world evidence, regulatory, commercial was very sequential, was very silent, step after step. After 2008, we started to be more blended, like the way I say it. So we started to see a bit of mix. We see a lot of real-world evidence enrichment. We spoke yesterday a lot about patient registries and patient data. You see a lot of confirmatory trials or expanded access programs, right? Individual patient accesses. But regulators are still there as a small line, right? And then drops of scientific opinion pre-IND, IND meeting. And then I questioned, what was the driver for us to start blended, right? So what changed the process? What changed the way how we develop, commercialize, and use rare and orphan medical products? And it was breakthrough designation introduced to the community. And in Europe, it was PRIME, an adaptive pathway introduced to the community. So that was eye-opening number 2. The first, I need to change the process. The best way to change the process is to change regulation. And then I started to think about the project, what the project could be in order to focus and provide enough scientific ground, scientific base to change the regulation. So that's how this project born. This is what we want to do. We want to develop a framework where you have a frame, what is enough proof of safety, efficacy, and quality of the medical product to get to approval. What is enough proof of value to go to price and reimbursement? What is enough proof of access to get to patient use? Within these proofs, if you are working in well-known disease, like Duchenne muscular dystrophy, 200 clinical trials more ongoing, a lot of centers of excellence, a lot of registries, patient journey maps, everything is available. Or you are working in the disease, you just start that doesn't have the code, right? Doesn't have the name. If you are working in well-established ecosystem with key opinion leaders, centers of excellence, all processes, travels, everything is there, or nothing. If you are working as big pharma company, Pfizer, Novartis, Biogen, or you are small, medium biotech, or you are academic network who want to develop the drug, or you are a parent who want to treat your child. So depending on all these inputs, you will select different measures to fill as puzzle this framework to go to enough proof. But you will select them differently because of your inputs, because of your resources. And you will select them from clinical, real-world evidence, commercial, and regulatory. So from one perspective, we are opening a door for more predictable process. So you know what you have to achieve in order to go there. From another perspective, there is no dictating how exactly you should do it. And we're stimulating innovation. We're stimulating innovative processes and tools to go there. Then we started to think how to align the whole universe, right? Because we spoke about 8,000 diseases. It's a lot, right? 5% of them are covered with therapies. So what I did, I took another research study, why not? I took almost 600 drugs, 600 medical products, approved or submitted before July 2021. That was our starting point to discuss this project. It took us a while. It took us a long way to negotiate everything. And I looked into everything what happened to these products during approval, price and reimbursement, and every new country launch. Every reason for rejection, restriction, lost coverage, limitation to subgroup, limitation to a biomarker group, limitation in label, ask for additional evidence for a follow-up, ask for additional value. So all issues that could possibly happen. And we had a long list for this, as you can imagine. And we grouped them, issues associated because of the disease. So we cannot address it 100%. We still need to invest a lot of time and effort to understand disease more, right? So disease can still show different phenotype, different effect, different origin even. So disease, because of the drug failed. Science still can fail. Drug can fail from animal to human. Do we need animal at all? That's another question. But drug can show different effect on different subpopulation or different comorbidities. We still do not have a system to press the button and predict that this drug will work 100% on 100% patients. So still can fail or give us lesson learned, as we agreed yesterday. And then because of the process, right? And just because of the process, we had 1,035 lines. Can you imagine? 1,035 lines. So imagine this whole thing, that you are a small and medium biotech, or you're a parent, you want to treat your child. You have to address everything about the disease. You have to address everything about drug science. You have to address everything about data and technology, and still have thousands of issues about the process, just the process. So what we decided is that we will take these 1,035 issues and we will group them. This is how we created 12 workflows. It's 12 working groups because I heard yesterday a comment that, big consortiums or pre-consortium as this one, they do not work properly unless you divide it into the work groups. So I'm happy that we thought this through. Thank you for a comment yesterday. So we divided it into 12 workflows. And as you can see, some of them are focusing on optimized evidence consideration. So in other words, what evidence you have to have for a disease to move from idea to patient based on patient feedback, pharma feedback, regulators' feedback, payers' feedback, and investors' feedback. The second one is about medical product evidence card. So this way is what evidence you have to know about the medical product, an orphan medical product from beginning to the end for patients, business, regulators, payers, and investors. The third one is about ultra-rare, no doubt, like a lot of issues with ultra-rare indications. So what is the ultra-rare value proposition that can be applicable and is relevant for patients, business, regulators, payers, and investors? As you can imagine, this is why we have this called 5 voices, because 5 voices stand for patients, business, regulators, payers, investors. We combine them all. And then we started to invite patient organizations, and we started to ask them, do you have this question currently on your plate? Do you face same issues and same challenges? And they said yes. And then basically in less than a month, we had around 200 companies, organizations, focused individuals who asked and decided to join 5 voices because they are currently working on these problems. So you can imagine that everything what we learned retrospectively associated with the process issues, it's not solved. It's relevant still. And there are companies who have this as a question now. So that returns me back to my introduction that company change, disease change, drug change, but the problem is the same. And unless we will solve the problem, unless we will find a way to make the process more predictable in these 12 workflows, 12 indications, then we will keep solving it again and again and again. 5 voices idea should be disease agnostic, right? That's our goal. We want to make the process more predictable, which will be disease agnostic. As we are now just starting, we decided to focus our initial effort on some disease specifics in order to make discussions more easy with examples for everyone. So that's why you see here the workflow focus has some disease specifics. But in general, after we are done with our initial phase, the whole idea is that you can take the outcome and implement it to any rare and orphan disease. Yes, it will take us time, still kind of, to circle back and to validate it, but the whole idea is there. So these are our 5 voices, and I do not want to scare you. We have another slide which is quite detailed, and people usually run away when they saw it. So where we have all these 200 organizations and companies all together. But we decided to include 5 voices. Why? Because these 5 voices are those who are making decisions how drug goes from idea to the patient. They are making decisions about strategy and operation of every medical product. And we have a lot of cases, we witness them, when investors deprioritize the drug even after successful clinical trial. Payers and regulators, it's obvious, right? They are in charge of approval and reimbursement of the drug. Sponsors making decisions, so they still can also deprioritize the drug. They can deprioritize the pipeline. They can decide to develop or not to develop the drug. And patient community, who needs it the most. In order to make it disease agnostic, we invited independent experts for each of the workflows. So these are people and experts who did it, who have track records of doing it and doing it right. So for example, for a biomarker, we have an expert who actually created most of the validated biomarkers today working in rare and orphan space. We have for health economics, people who actually started health economics integration in rare and orphan diseases. We have for decentralized and hybrid toolbox, people who are doing currently the most of decentralized and hybrid solutions in the space. So we will benefit from their feedback. So what we did, we took the data-driven approach, retrospective analysis of what happened. We took expert-driven approach, what is happening now and what might happen in the nearest future, and what from the retrospective perspective, from data perspective, is not relevant anymore. It's also very important. When you speak about patient registries or disease registries, you need to keep in mind to refresh the data. What is not relevant anymore? What we addressed, because there is a lot of progress. So we took also the third approach, evidence-driven, right? So what is there from the evidence perspective? Build all these blocks with independent experts and invited them to join, invited them to follow this 5 voices process. In addition to independent experts, we have a team of so-called ACI. So these are the team who want to advise, consult, or be informed about our progress. And they will join us at different stages. They will not do the whole work, but they will join, for example, the working sessions, or they will join the final publication. They will join discussion about the tools and templates. That's also possible. I'm just giving you an example of how you potentially can join 5 Voices. I know half of this whole actually already joined or in the progress to join 5 Voices, but for those who are new, there is still an opportunity to join. There is still an opportunity to join. We are currently in preparation phase. So we did the whole foundation, charter, roles and responsibilities, and budgetary requirements for the consortium. We called it pre-consortium at this stage because right now we are collecting all the feedbacks in a very structured way in order to step into next phase, which will be a consortium phase, which will be actually building this integrated framework, when we can apply already provided recommendations into every new case, see the result, and then refresh our recommendation back. The next one will be initiation phase, where everyone will have the kickoff meeting, we will set up the baseline, we will do contractual agreements, and then actually launch. Like, we already selected critical success factors, so we already selected the charters and member roles, and we will do also quality assurance. Because we have 200 organizations, we have to ensure that we are good from the quality perspective. And then we go live, hopefully in July. So in addition to our team, we invited people from legal risk assessment, from quality assurance, from ethics and compliance, and from data and technology. Why we need these people? Everything that we learn, we need to ask these experts about risks and opportunities from their perspective. Because I'm a member of multiple organizations. I'm constantly listening at the conferences what is proposed. Some of these propositions, like for example, can we do an automatic patient journey map? We can, but there is still no system, no data system that can pull all medical records of the patient at the same time for a physician to see it in one computer. So there are still things that we can do. There are still some limitations that we cannot do. So all our recommendations, everything that we will find out during the 5 Voices, we will ask for a validation about risks and opportunities from legal perspective, quality assurance, ethics and compliance, data and technology. So this is how the consortium works, right? As I mentioned to you, we did a lot of pre-work. We did a lot of homework. We've created for every workflow a playbook, so-called a playbook, but a checklist. This is a methodology work. Right? And we've collected data-driven, expert-driven, and evidence-driven analysis. We've included all the archetypes of existing rare and orphan patient ecosystem, of existing rare and orphan disease evidence, of existing product life cycle, right? So how actually rare and orphan products went to date from idea to market. And then we altogether looked into what were the strategic decisions for rare and orphan drugs and what were the operational solutions that worked and didn't work. And we also created a list of archetypes of rare and orphan companies working to date. As we heard yesterday during the working sessions, there are multiple of them. Right? From big pharma who have rare and orphan as part of their pipeline to parents who want to treat a child. So the magic box will be around 12 workflows. These 12 workflows are those where companies and organizations face the most uncertainty, the most doubts, the most rate of rejections or restrictions to date. These 12 workflows. Each of the 12 workflows will have 5 voices, so representatives from patient community, business community, regulators, payers, and investors. And we've combined to date both sides of Atlantics. We do not add Asia at this point, but we have US, Canada, Europe, and UK. we've designed already this pre-work checklist that has a combination of everything what happened to date, expert opinion, and evidence opinion. What is there present? So we did all this homework because we have multiple participants from the patient community. And I'm also a patient advocate. I'm supporting patients almost 14 years in Berlin and Charité. I know how difficult it is to find time. So we did all this pre-work. So for our participants in the 5 Voices program, in every workflow, we will ask only 15 hours of their time, 1-5, for the whole project, for them to provide structured voice, structured input. That was doable, right? So this is based on the interviews that we made with the patient community. This is something that was easy to find, 15 hours in next year or 15 months. And it will not be like 1 hour per month, right? So it's quarterly grouped. So we will have quarterly meetings where we can discuss our steps. As you see here, the magic box include 3 steps and 2 working sessions. Sorry. At the step one, we will be focusing on relevance. So remember 12 workflows. So for example, rare and orphan disease evidence card, right? So what you have to know about the disease from beginning to the end. So relevance heat map will immediately show you the whole disease card and the relevance. What is relevant for regulators? What is relevant for patients? What is relevant for business? What is relevant for payers? What is relevant for investors during the development phase, during the approval phase, during commercial phase, and during patient use? So this is what is called heat map. At the first step, we will focus on stakeholders map. I see a lot of issues with when to approach whom, at what time, how to start early. What does it mean start early, engaging regulators? Do you know when? So our example, rare disease evidence card, will give you an understanding. We will ask people, right? And it will be like a completed back and forth. When people ask for regulators to stay in, and when regulators report that they can join in. So that's why we need working sessions to discuss what is common in the answers and what is different. And then for what is different, we will discuss in a group, can we align it? So first of all, do we need to align it? Or can we live with it, just focus on 2 agendas? Or if we need to align it, then how? What do we need? Do we need a process? Do we need community? Do we need another regulation? Do we need incentive? What do we need? But that would be in a very structured, documented way. So coming back, first step, relevance heat map, stakeholders map, when to approach every stakeholder during the development, approval, commercialization, and use. Second step will be also focusing on effort prioritization. You know that you cannot develop everything, every evidence for rare disease from day one, right? That's a process. From beginning to the end, you develop it as a process. So effort prioritization will show you the rare disease evidence card from beginning to the end based on the feedback of patients, business, regulators, payers, and investors. And you will immediately see where is the grouping of effort, when to prioritize the effort, but you will also see where are the blank space, where the opportunity or effort is missed. And again, we will discuss it during the working session. Do we need to do something with it? Do we need to change it? Do we need to align it? And then if yes, then how? The second step will focus on processes, resources, pain points, and needs. We basically create a whole flow chart how to develop rare disease evidence card from perspective of patients, regulators, payers, investors, and business. What everyone should do, what are the documents, the key documents that you are using during this process? What are the endpoints and outputs of every step of this process? So when you will next time create rare disease registry, you can take this card and see what is your responsibility, or what is your process? And then when to approach, for example, regulators, what to do with them in order to maximize the value of your evidence that you collect. So that's process and resources. And pain points and needs. To create rare and orphan disease evidence card requires a lot of needs and pain points. There are, I know, I did it. And it will be pain points from the perspective of patient, regulators, payers, investors, and business, and their needs. And then when you see the ranked opportunity, so you will see how they rank their experience, plus and minus, you see where are the opportunities for improvement. And that will be our next step. At the step number 3, we will discuss with regulatory, with payers, with investors, with our experts, how we can potentially improve the process and improve the experience with integration. And integration can be 3 ways. So integration can be problem-driven, right? And you know it. So for example, when you are lacking patient enrollment in clinical trial, what we discussed yesterday, in most of the cases, why? Because the patient community was not approached too early, right? So early in the process. Or, for example, you should use the real-world evidence and find these patients, right? So like you have to do something. But it's like problem-driven integration when you integrate real-world evidence insights or patient insights or commercial insights early into clinical process. There is the second way to integrate. It's called experience-driven integration. What worked for FDA should work for EMA. At least European Medical Agency report that in 98% they are aligned with FDA. It doesn't make sense when you look into the numbers of rare and orphan drugs approved in US and Europe, but still. Right? So integration across 2 regions, integration across departments, experience-driven. Remember yesterday we had this example about if one patient organization was successful, learn from it, right? So this is experience-driven integration. Learn from them, take the advantage from them, and implement it into your processes. And then there is a third one, integration. This is called opportunity-driven. This is more about data and technology. So we see how technology and data developed in the last 10 years for rare and orphan. Right? We see synthetic control arm, real-world evidence enrichment. We see a lot of patient electronic diaries, decentralized solutions, deliver drug home. Right? So we see all these solutions. So this is opportunity-driven, mostly with data and technology. All these insights will be grouped into 3 outcomes: integrated tools, processes, and templates. The one that you can take, like even stakeholder map, right? So it will not be only your stakeholder map. It will be integrated across 200 organizations. So the best of the best template. Tools and processes, including medical product evidence card, health economics, biomarker, patient-reported endpoints and outcomes. We have this workflow. So you will have tools, processes, and templates integrated with support of 200 organizations that you can take and use in your processes, in your organizations, in your disease, for your patient population. The second one will be data algorithm. We've heard yesterday a lot about data, right? Collecting a lot of data. But we do not collect data just to have data, right? So we collect data to generate information from it. And in order to generate information, you have to have so-called navigator. It's when you are coming to a library and you have like 8,000, 10,000 books, you need to know what you are looking for, right? In order to make progress in this library. So this is the same as data algorithm. It will show you, so our example, rare disease evidence card. It will show you a data algorithm, what data points you have to generate in order to complete this rare disease evidence card. And then you can take this disease agnostic template, put it on top of any data repository, put it on top of your registry, put it on top of your disease, and you can see what you have and what you don't have. And then from what you don't have, you can see, is it relevant to regulators? Is it relevant to payers? Is it relevant to pharma companies or patients? And then focus your efforts and resources in generating this targeted evidence to complete the gap. So it's much more focused approach, navigation through all data available. And then the third outcome will be a workflow. We were called to use, like the white paper workflow. We were told not to use the word recommendation, because recommendation will be on regulators, but the white paper is our common publication, our recommendations, everything what we learned during these working sessions, our recommendation how we can improve the process and experience with integration that will be a basis for new regulation, new payer manual, and new investor guide. This is what we want to do. You can read our first press release. We just launched it end of April. And if you have any questions, there are contact details that you can ask, and I would be happy to give you more detailed presentation with a list of companies who are with us, what are the exact forms and templates that we are looking for, and how we want to develop this. So thank you so much for your information, or for your attention today. Thank you so much for digesting all this information. I know it sounds like boiling an ocean, but if we will not start, next 5 years, we will spend in solving the same problems again and again and again. So thank you. I'm open for questions.